The night the rules broke. June 2nd, 1943. 23:47 hours. Southern edge of the Kuban Front, Soviet Union. The wind cuts across the steppe like a blade as Lieutenant Yelena Ivanovna Morozova grips the wooden control stick of her Polikarpov P2. The cockpit is open. The canvas side shutter. The engine vibrates through her boots and into her bones. Below her, the darkness is not empty. It is occupied. German searchlights sweep the earth in slow white arcs, probing the night like fingers looking for a throat. She exhales into the cold. Her breath fogs the goggles pressed tight against her face. This aircraft was never meant to fight a war like this. It is fabric and pine frame, held together with wire and glue, designed before she was born. It has no armor, no radio, no guns. Only 2 bombs slung beneath the wings and a compass that trembles as much as she does. Yelena was told women did not belong here. Not in the cockpit. Not over enemy lines. Not carrying the weight of men who would die if she failed. The runway behind her has already vanished into darkness. She flies alone. The Polikarpov climbs slowly, laboring, every meter earned. She keeps the engine low, listening for changes in tone, the sound of betrayal. At this altitude, every noise matters. She smells oil and cold air, and the faint tang of gunpowder left over from the last crew who did not come back. Yelena Morozova is 22 years old. She is a trained pilot, a commissioned officer of the Red Army Air Force, assigned to the 588th Night Bomber Aviation Regiment. The men at headquarters call it an experiment. The Germans call them something else. Night witches. The name came after the screaming started. She remembers the first time she heard it. The way German soldiers described the sound of the P2 when the engine was cut, the sudden hush, then the whispering rush of wind as the aircraft glided in. Like a broom through the night. Like death deciding where to land. That is what she is here to do. Her target lies ahead. A German supply column dug in along a dirt road near the village of Krymskaya. Trucks, fuel, ammunition, men sleeping in trenches who believe the night belongs to them. Yelena checks her instruments again. Altitude, heading, time. The watch on her wrist ticks louder than it should. She presses her lips together and forces her breathing to slow. Fear is not the enemy. Panic is. The training comes back to her in fragments. Long days at Engels Military Aviation School. Instructors who spoke slowly, skeptically, as if repeating lessons to children. Male cadets who laughed when the women arrived in worn boots and borrowed uniforms. Commanders who warned them that they would ferry planes, not fight. Transport. Instruction. Anything but this. Then the war burned through the rules. In 1941, when the German invasion tore into the Soviet Union, losses came faster than replacements. Aircraft fell from the sky. Pilots died by the thousands. The front demanded bodies. The air demanded wings. Major Marina Raskova had pushed for this unit. All female. Pilots, navigators, ground crew. When the order came, it was necessity, not ideology, that signed it. Yelena remembers the first night mission briefing. The map spread on a crate. The candle flame shaking as artillery rumbled in the distance. The silence when the commander finished speaking and looked at them, waiting for someone to refuse. No one did. A flare blooms far off to the east. Anti-aircraft fire. Someone else is already engaged. Yelena's jaw tightens. The Germans are alert tonight. She eases the throttle back. The engine coughs, then settles into a whisper. The P2 begins to descend, nose dipping gently. The airframe creaks like an old house in winter. Now she listens. The ground rises to meet her. The smell changes. Damp earth. Smoke. Somewhere below, a man looks up too late. She cuts the engine. Silence crashes down, louder than any explosion. The Polikarpov glides, invisible, a shadow riding the wind. Yelena's heart hammers against her ribs. She counts the seconds in her head. Distance. Drift. Timing. This is the moment they said she would never face. This is the moment the war demanded anyway. The aircraft that was never supposed to survive. The ground swells beneath the wings. Yelena leans forward in the cockpit, eyes locked on the faint geometry of the road below. Even in darkness, war leaves straight lines. The German supply route cuts through the fields like a scar. She can see the shapes now. Trucks parked nose to tail. Canvas tops pulled tight. A half-track angled toward the trees. Men moving, small and careless, thinking the night is a shield. Her left hand tightens on the bomb release. She waits. The Polycarpov drifts lower, carried by cold air and gravity. No engine. No sound except the wind slipping past struts and wires. This is where the aircraft becomes something else. Not a machine, but a falling thought. She pulls the lever. The first bomb drops away, vanishing into black. She counts silently. 1, 2, 3. The explosion flashes white and orange, ripping the dark open. The shock wave slams into the underside of the wings. The P-2 lurches upward like a startled animal. German shouts erupt below. Searchlights snap on, stabbing upward, frantic now. The second bomb is already gone, tumbling toward fire and confusion. Yelena shoves the throttle forward. The engine roars back to life, rough and angry, as if offended by being silenced. Tracers rise from the ground, red and green arcs clawing at the sky. She banks hard left, the aircraft protesting, fabric wings shuddering under stress they were never meant to bear. A burst of machine gun fire passes close enough that she hears it. A tearing sound, like cloth ripped inches from her ear. She forces herself not to look back. The Polycarpov is slow. Everyone knows it. That is why the men laughed when they first saw it assigned to combat. A top speed barely faster than a truck. No protection. No margin. But it turns. It turns tightly, and it turns suddenly. Yelena throws the aircraft into another bank, dropping altitude, skimming closer to the ground where heavy flak cannot follow. Searchlights overshoot her, beams crossing uselessly in the clouds she is no longer in. She feels the vibration change. That is when she knows something is wrong. The engine coughs, then stutters. The steady rhythm breaks into uneven jolts. Her stomach tightens. She checks the gauges. Oil pressure falling. Fuel line maybe. Or a bullet she did not hear. She is still over enemy territory. This aircraft can glide, but only so far. If the engine fails completely, she will land in fields controlled by men who will not take prisoners kindly, especially not women in uniform. Yelena swallows and adjusts the mixture, coaxing the engine like a living thing. She remembers her instructor's voice, flat and patient, telling her that mechanical sympathy matters more than strength. She eases the throttle just enough. The coughing settles into an uneasy hum. It will hold. For now. The night stretches ahead of her, vast and indifferent. She turns east, away from the fire she created. Behind her, the supply column burns. Secondary explosions crack like thunder as ammunition cooks off. She does not allow herself satisfaction. That comes later, or never. As the adrenaline fades, the weight returns. She thinks of the ground crews who sent her up. Women like her, hands blackened with oil, working under shell fire to keep these aircraft flying. She thinks of the navigator on the previous sortie who did not come back, whose empty bunk still waits in the tent. She thinks of the letter folded in her jacket, written but unsent, words she does not know how to finish. The P-2 shudders again. Her jaw tightens. She scans the horizon, searching for landmarks. A river bend. A line of trees. Anything to orient herself. The compass needle wobbles, unhelpful. The stars are partially obscured by smoke drifting west from the front. Disorientation is as deadly as gunfire. She forces herself to slow down. Breathe. Fly the plane. One decision at a time. A distant flash blooms ahead, followed by the dull thud of artillery. Friendly guns. The front line is closer now. That knowledge steadies her more than anything else. She lowers altitude further, skimming just above the dark shapes of fields. If the engine quits now, she might make it across. The aircraft limps onward. Yelena does not know yet that this mission will be counted as a success, that a staff officer will mark targets destroyed with a pencil and move on, that her name will be written in a logbook and mispronounced. All she knows is that she is still flying, still responsible, still alive. And the war is not finished with her. The weight of survival. The engine holds, but only just. Every vibration feels louder now, every fluctuation a warning. Yelena keeps her eyes moving, never lingering on any single gauge for too long. Staring invites fear. Action keeps it away. The eastern horizon begins to glow faintly, not with dawn, but with the distant reflection of fires and artillery. The front line announces itself long before it is seen. Sound travels strangely at night. Explosions arrive flattened and heavy, like blows struck against the earth itself. She lowers the aircraft even further. At this height, the Polikarpov's wheels nearly brush the tops of tall grass. She feels the ground rushing beneath her, a blurred texture of fields and ditches and fences. The risk changes shape here. No longer flak or searchlights, but unseen obstacles. A lone tree, a telephone wire, a moment of inattention. Her hands ache from gripping the controls. As the lines of the front approach, the sky grows busier. Tracers arc in both directions. Flares burst overhead, bathing everything in a pale, unnatural light. For a second, her aircraft is exposed, its shadow racing across the ground beneath her. A Soviet searchlight sweeps past, then snaps away as a recognition signal flashes from the field below. She answers with a brief wing dip, the agreed-upon gesture. Friendly eyes, finally. She crosses the line. The sensation is subtle but profound. The tension in her chest eases just enough for her to notice how hard she has been holding herself together. Her shoulders sag. She realizes her jaw hurts from being clenched. The engine stumbles again. Not now. She keeps the nose level and resists the urge to push the throttle. The airstrip is close. She knows this terrain. A dark strip carved into the steppe, marked by lanterns spaced carefully to avoid drawing enemy attention. She spots the first one, a dim orange glow off her left wing. Relief threatens to overwhelm her. She crushes it down. Landing is the most dangerous part. She lines up carefully, adjusting for the crosswind. She can feel more than see. The Polikarpov responds sluggishly, as if tired. She cannot blame it. Neither of them were built for this. She cuts power and lets the aircraft settle. The wheels hit hard, bouncing once, then again. She corrects, heart in her throat, fighting the instinct to overreact. The plane skids slightly before straightening. Then it rolls, slows, and finally stops. Silence returns. For a moment, Yelena stays exactly where she is. Hands still on the controls. Breath shallow. The world narrowed to the space of the cockpit. When she finally exhales, it comes out in a shaky rush. A figure runs toward her through the dark. Then another. Ground crew. Familiar shapes. Women shouting over the engine as she cuts the ignition. The propeller winds down, ticking as it cools. She climbs out stiffly, legs unsteady as they hit the ground. Someone grabs her arm, steadying her. Someone else is already inspecting the aircraft, fingers tracing along the wing, finding the tear in the fabric where a round passed through. A few centimeters closer, and it would have been bone instead of canvas. They exchange looks. No one says it aloud. She walks toward the command tent, helmet tucked under her arm. Inside, the air smells of smoke and damp paper. A map covers the table. Pins and grease pencil marks show a front that shifts by the hour. The commander looks up as she enters. He does not smile. He rarely does. Report. Yelena delivers it plainly. Target. Approach. Bomb release. Enemy response. Damage sustained. She keeps her voice steady. Professional. Controlled. This is how she was taught. Emotion belongs elsewhere. The commander nods, making notes. A clerk writes quickly, barely looking at her. Another mission recorded. Another aircraft returned. When she finishes, there is a brief pause. Get some rest. You are up again in 90 minutes. The words land heavier than any flak burst. She nods once and turns away. Outside, the night presses in. The cold feels sharper now that adrenaline has drained away. She walks past the row of tents, past the line of waiting aircraft. Some are dark. Some have lanterns lit beneath their wings as mechanics work without pause. She stops beside her Polikarpov and rests a hand against its fuselage. The fabric is still warm. They told her she would never fight like this. That women would not carry this burden. That the sky would reject her. Instead, the war has given her no choice. And tomorrow night, it will ask again. When necessity became proof. The 90 minutes pass without mercy. Yelena does not sleep. She sits on a wooden crate outside the tent, back against a support pole, helmet at her feet. Around her, the airfield breathes and moves like a living thing. Engines cough awake, then fall silent. Tools clink softly. Voices murmur in low tones. Somewhere, someone laughs too loudly, the sound edged with exhaustion. She eats a piece of black bread without tasting it. The sky remains dark. Dawn is still far away. The war prefers the hours when eyes strain and mistakes come easily. A runner appears, calling names. Her name is among them. She stands, joints stiff, fatigue settling into her muscles like wet sand. The second sortie always feels heavier than the first. The body remembers fear even when the mind tries to bury it. At the briefing table, the map has changed. New pins mark a rail junction deeper behind enemy lines. Supplies moving north. Reinforcements. Fuel. The lifeblood of the front. Destroying it will slow an advance that has already cost too many lives. Yelena studies the route. Longer. More exposed. Fewer landmarks. Her navigator tonight is Junior Lieutenant Anna Petrova, 21, sharp-eyed and calm-voiced, fingers already tracing distances as if the map were something she could feel. They exchange a look. No words are needed. This time, the commander adds something else. Luftwaffe patrols have been reported in the area. Night fighters. Not many, but enough. The men get priority for escorts. Your regiment flies anyway. There is no anger in his voice. Only fact. They walk to the aircraft together. Anna climbs into the rear cockpit, adjusting her harness, checking the bomb sight. Yelena circles the plane once, her hand brushing over patched fabric and exposed ribs. The damage from the earlier sortie has been repaired as best as possible. It will have to be enough. She climbs in and signals. The engine starts reluctantly, then catches. The familiar vibration steadies her nerves. Whatever happens, this part she understands. They take off into darkness again. The second mission feels different from the first. Not sharper, but deeper. Fatigue dulls the edges of fear, replacing it with something more dangerous. Routine. She fights it consciously, forcing herself to check and recheck, to stay present. As they cross the front line, Anna leans forward slightly and taps Yelena's shoulder, pointing. A distant shape moves against the stars. Too fast. Too smooth. Yelena's pulse spikes. She drops altitude immediately, banking toward a darker patch of ground. The Polikarpov sinks, disappearing into shadow. The shape above passes on, unaware or uninterested. She does not wait to confirm which. They press on. The rail junction emerges gradually, a web of tracks glinting faintly in moonlight. Boxcars sit clustered together, quiet and vulnerable. A guard tower stands off to one side, a small silhouette against the sky. Anna taps twice. Ready. Yelena cuts the engine again. They glide in, silent, exposed. This time, the Germans react faster. A searchlight snaps on almost immediately, beams sweeping wildly. Another joins it. The sky fills with crisscrossing light. For a heartbeat, the beam catches them. Yelena yanks the controls, banking hard. The Polikarpov shudders under the strain. Anna releases the bombs. The explosion tears through the rail yard, fire blooming outward, lighting the aircraft from below. Anti-aircraft fire erupts instantly, denser than before. Tracers streak past in thick lines. The engine roars back to life. A round slams into the fuselage with a sound like a hammer blow. Another tears through fabric. Yelena feels the aircraft lurch violently, then steady. Anna shouts something, her voice sharp but controlled. Yelena cannot hear the words over the engine, but she hears the tone. Wounded but flying. They dive toward the ground again, racing away as secondary explosions rip through the junction behind them. Flames climb high, marking the target for miles. Too visible, too tempting. The sky is no longer empty. A shape drops toward them from above. Yelena's mouth goes dry. This is the moment the rules were supposed to stop her long ago. The part of the war no one intended her to face. She does not hesitate. She throws the Polycarpov into a tight, brutal turn, bleeding speed, hugging the earth so closely that the aircraft's shadow merges with the ground. The faster enemy fighter overshoots, unable to match the turn at such low speed. For an instant, the hunter loses sight of them. It is enough. They vanish into darkness, damaged, exhausted, alive. The sky no longer argued. They do not speak on the return. The wind roars through the open cockpit, tearing at Yelena's scarf, numbing her cheeks. Every sense is tuned outward, searching for pursuit, for the sudden flare of light that would mean they have been found again. The engine sounds wrong, not failing, but strained, as if holding itself together through will alone. Anna leans forward once more, taps Yelena's shoulder, and gives a thumbs up. Alive, alert, counting landmarks, still doing her job. The front line appears as a ragged band of light and noise. Artillery flashes like distant lightning. Yelena angles low, staying beneath the heavier fire, trusting the darkness to finish what skill began. When the landing strip comes into view, it looks unreal. Lanterns glowing softly, impossibly calm compared to the chaos behind them. She lines up carefully, correcting for the crosswind, feeling the damage in the controls now. The aircraft responds unevenly, a subtle lag that forces her to anticipate every movement. She lands harder than she wants to. The wheels slam down, the Polycarpov bucking before settling. She holds it straight, teeth clenched, riding out the momentum until it finally slows and stops. The engine sputters once, then dies on its own. Silence. Her hands shake as she unbuckles. This time, she notices. She does not try to stop it. They climb down together. Ground crew rush in, lanterns raised, voices overlapping. Someone swears softly when they see the damage. Bullet holes. Shredded fabric. A strut bent just enough to be dangerous. But the aircraft is here. And so are they. Inside the command tent, the atmosphere has shifted. The map is lit more brightly now. Officers stand closer, listening as reports come in from multiple units. When Yelena and Anna deliver theirs, heads turn. Questions follow. Specific ones. Precise. Enemy fighter contact. Rail yard destroyed. Fires visible for kilometers. The commander studies Yelena for a long moment before nodding. You did well. It is not praise. It is acknowledgement. From this point on, it is enough. Later, as dawn begins to thin the night, Yelena stands alone at the edge of the airfield. The sky lightens from black to deep blue. Birds begin to call, confused by the noise and smoke. The war does not pause for sunrise, but it changes its face. She thinks of the rules that once tried to hold her down, of the voices that said she would not endure this strain, that her hands would falter, that fear would win. The sky has answered for her. She will fly again tonight, and the night after that, until the war ends, or she does. Yelena Morozova is not an exception. She is proof. The war put her in the sky because it had no other choice. And once there, she did not come down.